That's our goal.
Okay, we're on.
And I want pie.
Oh, okay. Great. Nettie wants pie. I want to watch my son. We're going to start this meeting
All right.
with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Did you start?
Yeah.
Moving into our agenda. First off is meeting minutes from our May 11th regular meeting, so I need approval of those minutes.
I move to approve April 13th minutes.
Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Minutes are approved. Then we move on to our approval of our minutes from the special board meeting of April 29th.
I move to approve the April 29th minutes.
Okay, I got a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none. Approved. And on to the approval of general fund vouchers 83196 through 83287 and wire transfers 2026-0393 through 2026-0441.
Move to approve the general fund vouchers and wire transfers as read.
I'll second.
All right, was it properly approved and seconded? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Your transactions are approved. Public comments. No public, no comments. Moving on to the annual reorganization of the board and election of officers. Should be a lively conversation.
So you can, the really formal way to do it is one at a time, but I think typically, many times, many boards and our boards have often just kind of talked it out and made one main motion for, so you guys can do it either way, so.
Want to remain the same?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
I'm good. I'll make a motion to leave them as is or as was.
I second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded that we leave the officers as is. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Congratulations, Greg.
You won't have to change any letterhead or anything.
Yeah, that's great, Eve. Yeah, we don't have to change
No
anything.
dates, no letterhead.
That is appreciated.
Oh. Moving on to approval of resignations and retirements.
Okay, we've got a couple of resignations. Dominic Dimmler resigning his position as bus driver. And then we also have Brock Hauk is resigning his position as elementary special ed paraprofessional.
Okay,
I move to approve the resignations.
thank you.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. On to approval of hires. Got a couple of those.
So Mrs. Anderson and the committee have been working to fill out the spots over there. So we had one classroom teacher yet that at the last special meeting that we didn't approve. So I'm pleased to put forth Caitlin Hendren as a 5th grade classroom teacher teaching ELA, English Language Arts and Social Studies. And then we've also got elementary part-time food service, Ashley Potting. I'd like to recommend her.
Okay. I have approval for hires.
I'll make a motion to approve the new hire.
Okay.
Second.
All right, properly moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none. You have the approval of your hires.
Okay.
On to the approval of the 2026 summer school contracts.
Okay, so we've got the teacher contracts here, so if you can open up the attachment, but this is just board's formal action to authorize releasing contracts for the summer school. Mrs. Weiss and Mrs. Anderson's oversight finalized the schedule. So.
I move to approve the 2026 summer school contracts.
I'll second.
All right, we have properly moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, summer school contracts are approved. Then we move to the approval of the 26-27 speech language therapy contract.
Okay, so we supplement some of our speech Danielle Clark is 0.7, and then we supplement with some launch therapy, which is a virtual program that we've used for years. Very happy with them, but I would like to table it to next month. The contract draft came in on Friday. There's a few things I want to put back to them and kind of revisit a little bit, so I'd like to table
All right.
it.
So we will officially table that until next month. But moving on to approval of occupational and physical therapy services contract for 26-27.
Okay, so this is an annual renewal with St. Croix Health of St. Croix Falls. We've been very pleased with their services. There's a modest increase from last year. It's a small number of students who have IEPs who receive OT and PT services, so I'd recommend approval of that.
I move to approve the 26-27 occupational therapy contract.
I'll second.
Okay, we've been properly moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have the approval of OT and PT. Next on the agenda is approval of health, dental, and long-term disability insurance renewal for 26-27.
So, in reviewing the different bids, the board in closed session has heard some of the information on this, but I would recommend maybe we table that. Again, just one last review. Any last questions on it before we come out and make a motion
So
after?
we will put that in closed session. And then you have consideration and approval of CISA 11 contract for services for special education leadership. Are we tabling that to closed session as well?
Yeah, same
Okay.
thing, so, yep.
We'll table that to closed. We are tabling to closed also the approval for the teacher contracts and the support staff contracts and the administrator contracts. And then we have the review of Fund 46 facilities plan and miscellaneous facilities projects.
Okay, so not a ton of projects coming into this summer like some years past, but we have it on our strategic plan calendar, so I just wanted to just do a review, check in Fund 46. We're sitting at $526, almost $527,000 sitting in that fund. You recall we did a little bit of a different thing with our budget this year, so anything related to facilities upkeep and upgrades we have paid for out of Fund 46. So you can see we spent $91,000 so far this year on different things. A lot of it has been HVAC repairs and upgrades and issues. So, but I just kind of a check-in on where the fund sits. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Nothing to change or approve, just a check-in if anyone has any questions.
Just a reminder of the board members to hand out diplomas and issue welcome at commencement.
Yeah, so we've got Corey and Greg handing out diplomas, right?
Yep.
And then we've got Greg doing the welcome. So
Yep.
that's the plan. So
Should I be prepared for backup?
7 o'clock. I'll make sure.
So everybody
6.
text Greg at 5.
Just like,
It is crowd season, planting season.
well, it hasn't been the most beautiful spring, I will say
No.
that. All right, so moving on to board policy updates and approvals. This is the first reading.
Yeah, first reading, and I just put a kind of a smaller amount on here. We'll have more of them next month, but I just knowing the timeliness of tonight's meeting. So, but there are a couple things that we do want to get on there. Well, so first off, the first couple definitions, just one of the first policies in the whole handbook, but it's just clarifying definitions, and the update is it's a clearer, different definition of what a personal communication device is, including gaming devices, and then also clearly defines what a student support organization is. So like a quasi non-governmental organization, but that supports or connects to the school, so like a booster club or a PTO or something like that. Really, that's the only change there. I almost feel like those could have been technical corrections, but alas, there they are. So I don't know if there's any questions on that. That one's pretty straightforward.
So
Go ahead.
student support organizations are an organization that's still connected to the district. Do they have to follow some of our policies then?
Well, yeah, depends, I would say. Like, if they want to do business with us or whatever,
Yeah.
like we have an expectation of how they would function with our groups, So I guess if we ever had an organization that wasn't, I guess, behaving in a way that we approved of or followed kind of our values as a district, we could cut ties with that group, I guess, is what I would.
I just didn't know if they started one, if they had to go through a process with the school.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess like the PTO, I know they coordinated with the school way back. It was like late 90s, 2000 when they started. Some of the booster clubs that I think we're working varying degrees with and without the school.
I think it was more the booster club piece, because that can get scary.
Yeah, and that's why that separation is important.
Yeah,
for people to
that's
remember.
why I'm just wondering, like, do we have to give them a little understanding of policies and procedures here? Okay.
Should I move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So
just me thinking.
this is just a revision to board member behavior, communications, and code of conduct, and the summary. Oh, I forgot to grab my summary here. But basically, it clarified and made sure that it matched up with some other policy changes that have gone on. That's letter L and M, the green highlights there, and under enforcement, it's just a reminder that the board enforces its own ethics on itself. You know what I mean? If the board as a whole feels like there's something that's happening that goes against this, the board has the opportunity to kind of take action in the form of censures or different things like that. Talks about a specific, kind of chain of command or procedure for complaints. Like if any of you were to receive a complaint about a board member, to forward it to the chair, or
Is there a reason why
if
they
it's-
scratched out president or vice president? Because like the way it's worded, if there is an issue with the president, there is no other.
yeah, because it also
Yeah, it
says
does say if the president is
if the president is the subject of the complaint, then it would be the vice president. Yep.
Just making sure that we're not
Right.
setting
Hamstringing the policy. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then if a complainant or any other person contacts an individual board member, that's the part we were just talking about. Yep. Inform the person that the board member as an individual has no authority to act in an individual capacity, but refers it to the bylaws and the board president for further assistance. So, any questions about that one or comments? Or then moving on, the next one, policy 1210, is board district administrator relationship. And it's amazing, I was just looking at these this afternoon, but I remind myself, what's the change? As far as the revisions focus on including the district administrator's authority to delegate duties to staff members who are then accountable to the district administrator. So the other thing that when I meet with our Neola rep, he reminds, when it says district administrator, capital D, capital A, that means or his or her designee. So it doesn't literally mean me always. It just means the district administrator is responsible and may delegate that to the appropriate people within the organization. And there's pick the clause in the board shall hold the district administrator accountable for the administration of the district actions taken by the district administrator and the administrator's personal behavior. Individual board members who receive communications regarding matters within the purview of the administration, including but not limited to personnel concerns, student parent concerns, should immediately refer to concerns to the district administrator, or if the concern relates to the district administrator, to the board president. So just kind of, again, establishing that formal procedure, which has pretty much been our established norm always, I think. So, anything on that one?
No.
The next three, so policy 1213, 3213, and 4213, these are all basically the same policy. So these come about as a result of a new law that was passed, Act 57. There has been a large emphasis in Madison on protection of children. There's been a lot of discussion about grooming behaviors by adults in positions of authority working with kids, schools and elsewhere. And so these policies are updated to reflect the Act 57 rules. So the first one, 1213, relates to administrators, and it looks different than the other two. And you'll notice that the first line there, it says, it is the intent of the board to direct the preparation of guidelines would minimize. So we talked about that with our Neola rep. The guidelines, when we look through these policies, you'll see they're pretty specific in here. And the feeling was that going back and making guidelines beneath this would be pretty redundant, because you'll see they're very specific as we go through the next two. So the one addition to, I guess, no, there's not a big addition to the administrator one. I'm trying to remember. Letter I. The choice there, administrators, and the choice is shall not engage, rather than discourage from. It says shall not engage students in social media and online networking media, except for appropriate academic, extracurricular, or professional uses. So we do post things online about, hey, so and so just scored 1,000 points last night, in basketball, and an administrator might say, way to go, Johnny, or whatever, that stuff like that. Yeah. So, but that relates specifically to the school. So, the next two are much more specific. If any questions on that, these are updated to bring into compliance. You'll see a lot more green on these next ones here. So, talks about I'll just read the summary. These policies establish a standard of care to protect student safety by clearly defining behavior boundaries for all staff, required by Act 57. Mandates that parents be notified of sexual misconduct reports by 5 p.m. on the same day or noon the next day if the report is received on a school day after the end of the regularly scheduled instruction. So there's a mandated timeline. If there's a report of staff sexual abuse, it needs to be reported to the parents within an immediate time frame, which again, our reaction was kind of like, well, I think that's what we would do anyway, so and then a new comprehensive optional section on appropriate staff-student relationships further safeguard students by explicitly prohibiting boundary invasions. They talk about the term grooming, or they talk about inappropriate digital contact, unauthorized transportation, and the disciplinary action that can come from it. Policy now requires an annual notice to parents regarding statutory rights to access staff disciplinary records, which is interesting to me. But anyway, so what you'll see is, as we're going through the options here, pretty much left all the options in and made it pretty specific. And I think then this becomes something that can be shared directly with staff instead of having another handbook policy underneath it. I think it's very specific, and I would encourage people between now and the second reading, like if you want to read it a little more deeply if you haven't already, just to get a sense for what all is in there.
Is this something that's covered in training, like in the fall, since it's so new and so specific?
That's another thing. There's a requirement now for training, and so the DPI is developing a training. Like now they have for mandatory reporting and school violence reporting and stuff like that. So that's part of the law too. Is DPI has to develop a training, and it's typically like a video that you kind of go through and answer questions as you watch it. So yep, exactly, because it is very specific. So that was my comment with this. Is like we're going to need to just show this to the staff because it gives specific examples. Again, not meant to be a comprehensive list or anything, but just examples. So. Talks about appropriate student-staff relationships, prohibited contact, and then it just lists a whole bunch of things, about preferential treatment or favoritism, boundary invasions, and then it gives some very specific examples of boundary invasions, some of which are very clearly like illegal, showing pornographic images to a child, but other things are more like, engaging in talk that might have sexual innuendo or banter, inappropriate comments, just using and it part of them, some of them are rather gray, but it's meant to give an example to say, hey, if this one thing alone might bear attention or not necessarily mean a violation, but that thing alone might draw attention to say, hey, are there multiple things going on here that brings awareness to a concern? Invasion of student privacy, giving gifts or money for no legitimate purpose. So overly involvement with.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
My wife's a substitute teacher. Can she give another student a ride with my daughter to a sporting event without your permission?
I would say that depends on the situation. If it's a school sporting event, they should be riding the bus anyway, unless they got parental permission.
Yeah.
If it's a ride home from school, then it's probably, it has to be, they'd have to have the parental permission from that other child's parent to get picked up. Or they'd be on file, if especially an elementary student.
Or what about a weekend club?
What's that?
What about a weekend club event?
It's a club match.
A weekend thing? Then we wouldn't have any oversight over that.
Yeah.
Unless it's a booster, then we might.
Technically not. Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. So I think it's just it's a big
Yeah.
raising of awareness for people. So it's definitely a point of emphasis right now. So it does clarify, outside of district staff-parent relationships. Obviously, again, if you have a child who is a student, that means something different. There's different expectations there, or a relative, or a close family friend. So it does make a mention of that. But just maintaining professional boundaries. It's their requirements for reporting of allegations and of inappropriate staff-student relationships. So very strict about that staff must report those concerns in a timely manner. Doesn't change anything about mandated reporting for child abuse, child neglect. Let's see. Yeah, policy needs to be posted, reviewed annually with the staff. And again, that's part of the DPI training. Again, look it over before next time too. The next one, 4213, is for support staff. It is the exact same language, so there's nothing different in there. So it's exact same words.
And we follow that up with child abuse and neglect.
Child abuse and neglect, and that is also adjusted to conform with that too. And it also mentions the additional required reporting to match those other three policies, making it clear that if any staff member has information leading to a reasonable person to suspect that misconduct might have occurred, it should be reported immediately to the district administrator or to that employee's immediate supervisor. Sexual misconduct, or if they have an awareness of convicted serious child sex offense, is working as a volunteer or in a position with children, raise that concern. So failure on the part of the staff member to immediately report the aforementioned may result in disciplinary action up to and including termination. So that's the new section in there. Any questions on that one? Okay.
All right. That takes us to superintendent notes.
Okay. There's a lot going on this time of year, so I'll try to be quick though. So in school, working on supply orders and budget for next year, lots of summer school planning and prep finalizing. I had a note on here, still no tax relief bill for Madison. And then just this afternoon, we did get a tax relief bill, or a bipartisan agreement that is not yet, it's got to go through the process through each house. But the plan is that it's been agreed upon, so hopefully it goes through. $300 million in special ed aid, so gets us to that 42% for this year and 50% reimbursement rate for SPED over the 2 years. So that's awesome. So that helps Clear Lake.
Yeah.
That helps Clear Lake. That's money back in our budget. $300 million in aid to reduce property tax burden, so putting it into the general aid. So that also gets distributed out, across the whole state, so that, our local levy has gone up, so that should help push down the local portion of that. And then $840 million in individual tax rebates. So I'm assuming, I haven't read any details, I haven't seen any, that's like checks going out to taxpayers across the state, like putting money back out.
300 individual, 600 couple.
Okay, yeah. School perception surveys, you've seen all the emails, I'm sure, as parents. We had a little glitch with our parent data that went out, if you saw my email, if you read my emails. So we extended that one and resent it to the younger grade parents. We had prom. I want to thank Matt and Dina Anderson for allowing us to have it again at their place downtown. Teresa Arcand for being the advisor. And then we had school staff appreciation last week. I want to thank Pillar Bank and Kate's Coffee. They once again provided free coffee for each staff member, which was really cool. And then American Legion Auxiliary came in and made they made sack lunches for the entire staff on Wednesday too. So that was very thoughtful, and they put a lot of time and effort into it. Into every individual sandwich and bag you could tell the care that they put into it. So very much appreciated. This week is a huge week. We got awards night and baccalaureate Wednesday at 7. Also, graduation is at 7 on Friday. Elementary's had a ton of stuff going on. They had a variety show. They had the PTO Carnival Friday, a bunch of field trips going on. EMS Day is coming up. Track and Field Day is Wednesday. 6th grade kindergarten graduation coming up. Last day of school for the district is Friday, June 5th. I don't think we're going to have any snow days here. I'm optimistic about that. Summer school starts June 10th. So that's just quick things of what's going on. Future agenda, I know we'll have some more Neola policies. Mrs. Anderson's planning to bring a math resource for elementary next month, and then we've got scorecard review for strategic plan. So try to talk fast.
You did great. All right, that puts us into closed session. So we will go into contemplated closed session pursuant with Wisconsin statutes 19.851C, 19.851E, and 19.851F. The board will consider employment, compensation, or performance of employees. The board will deliberate or negotiate the purchase of services, and the board will consider a student discipline matter. All right, and I will poll the board. Nettie?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
And Christy? Yes.
Matt?
Matt?
Yes.
Okay.
To make you feel better.
All right, we're back in open.
We are back in open session. I'm looking for approval for Schedule G on our minutes.
I'll entertain or make a motion to approve the acceptance of United Healthcare proposal to become the district's health insurance provider at a rate increase of 1% more than 25-26. Also to approve the renewal of Lincoln Financial dental insurance at 3% increase and renewal of long-term disability and life insurance with Reliance Standard at a 0% increase.
I'll second.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're moving on to item H, move to give approval of the superintendent to negotiate agreement with CSL 11 for the provision of leadership of the special education department. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve item H as read.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Next, we're approving teacher contracts for 26-27 with a 2.63 increase to the base and a step increase. Also moving to approve the support staff contracts for 26-27 and also approving the administrator contracts for 26-27. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve all contracts as read.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Is there any future agenda items? We'll have to go back to the one that we tabled
For next month.
for next
Yeah,
month.
yep, that'll be on
So that will be the
the
only
speech
thing.
language therapy kind.
Yep.
Yep.
And then second reading for the new
Yeah.
policies.
Yep. And I'll have some other first readings too. Okay.
I have a motion to approve adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.